Hello and welcome back to my channel, where today I am playing with the Norn's palette from Oden's. This color story is so beautiful. It's got so much pigment and so much variety and interest, and I just had a lot of fun creating this eyeshadow look. So if you'd like to see how I did it, then stick around and I will show you. And if you haven't been here before, hello and welcome. My name is Rachel. I'm just a homeschooling stay-at-home mom who loves to play with colorful eyeshadow. My eyeshadow looks usually take place between 5 and 6 a.m. when the babies are sleeping, although sometimes you can hear little noises on the baby monitor. And if you are also interested in colorful eyeshadow, tutorials, reviews, anything like that, then please consider liking and subscribing. You can also find me on Instagram at Shimmers and Silver. So without further ado, let's get into this look. Okay, today I'm going to be using the Glamlight Icing Primer in the color White Frosting. I have found that this primer works very well to prevent creasing. You know, it's interesting, for so long I've been using the NYX primer in white, and when I started using this Glamlight primer, I discovered that it turns out the NYX primer is not as smooth on the skin. It seems to, I don't know if it enhances or if it creates more texture on my eyelids. And especially like up in this area where the skin, like where it doesn't really get much shadow, it would end up being just textured. But this primer doesn't do that as much, and so now I don't know if it's covering texture, like concealing it, or if the NYX primer was creating texture. I'm not really sure. I feel like the NYX primer was creating texture because I don't remember that my skin is, you know, bumpier or more dry there. So definitely I prefer the Glamlight primer, but because I have the NYX primer and it works just fine with shadows for me that don't crease as much, I just use it for color pop. First I'm going to be taking a medium fluffy blending brush and I'm dipping into the shade Dazed, which is this one right here. Now in playing with Oden's Eye, I have discovered, Dazed is my transition shade. I'm going to place it in my crease and blend it around. In playing with Oden's Eye, I've discovered that the formula likes to be placed down pretty much wherever you want it to be and then blend it out. It doesn't spread around a lot when you blend it. I mean, it spreads around certainly enough to blend. It's a really nice formula. But if you work it too much, it might end up lifting. So I just keep dipping into the pan. Like, I'm getting good pigment. You'll get good pigment from the shadows, but I just keep dipping into the pan and placing where I want it to be, instead of dipping into the pan a lot and then spreading it all around everywhere. Like I might do with ColourPop or BH Cosmetics. So I just keep going back into the pan, placing that pigment wherever I want it to be. And then once I've got a good amount of pigment down to what I'm liking, I'll blend it out, and then it blends out really nicely. At first I thought that this Dazed shade might just be a waste for me because it's such a neutral, but it actually does make a difference if I use it as a transition color. I could probably also use it as a lid shade if I wanted to really lighten up a look. So I'm glad, because it's always kind of a bummer when there's just a shade in the palette that's the same as your skin tone and you just know you'll never use it. At least I do. Unless I make a mistake and I put down way too much pigment and then I have to, you know, desperately backpedal to try to blend it out with something into my skin tone, then that's when I reach for shades like that. But generally, because I like such colorful eyeshadow, like very neutral skin tone shades I just don't use them. Okay, I am taking a large pencil brush and I'm dipping into the shade Outsider. Beautiful matte teal color. Just like with the gray, I'm going to place it on my lid where I want it to be. I'm kind of just stamping or tapping it in place. creating whatever shape I want in the outer corner, which for me is almost always an elongated cat eye shape. And I'm going to carry that about halfway into the crease, and I'm also bringing that down onto the lid. Look at this beautiful shade. So pretty. And then once the color is placed down, I grab my blending brush and I just work it around a little bit. I can always go back in and add more of that blue if I find that it's not deep enough, but first I want to blend it. And all of a sudden that gray color that we placed down first is looking very sea foamy, oceanic. And then I've dipped back into the blue and I'm adding in a little more pigment to deepen out where I want to. And now, as usual, I want to add a little bit of more depth and drama, so I'm taking a small pencil brush and I'm dipping into the shade Colorful Black. And this I'm going to place in the very outer corner. I'm not wrapping any of these colors down to the lower lash line because I haven't fully decided what I'm going to do out there. But I'm just dipping into the shade and placing it where I want it to be. It almost blends itself. These shadows are so good. Sorry, I know the light changes on my face when I bring the mirror closer, but I wear glasses and I don't currently have contacts. Haven't had contacts for quite a while. And so if I want to see the more precise things, I need to bring the mirror closer. I'm just putting that on my outer corner in a little V shape. I don't want to cover up that blue very much. I just want to deepen it out a little more. So I'm kind of using this brush to place and then blend. And then I'll take my blending brush and just work it. Okay, I'm noticing that the black is sitting on top of the blue, almost obscuring it, which is impressive. Like, I wouldn't expect that this formula would be that strong. So I'm taking this very same brush that I just used for the black. Without cleaning it off, I'm dipping back into the blue color, that teal color outsider. And because now it has a black base, I'm just going to place that dark teal on top of the black everywhere I place the black. And it's just going to end up looking like a deeper version of the outsider color. So that will help blend it into the color that's underneath the black as well. And then with my blending brush, I'm softening up this edge right here. Always blending up and out. Yeah, that's better. Okay, now it's time for some shimmer. So I'm taking a flat shader brush like I almost always do. And I've decided to play with this Charming color. It is Charming, but that's also the name of it. On the bottom right corner of the palette, I'm gonna dip into it and then spray it. These shimmers are a lot more like a putty formula, and that's why I chose to use the Glam Light Primer instead of the NYX, because the Glam Light Primer really helps with creasing. So I've got Charming on my brush, and I'm going to put that about, not fully in my inner corner, but almost there, and then spread that onto the lid. It looks a little more purple in the pan, but I think it's a duochrome. If I had placed down a purple base, I know it would have pulled more purple. But I'm going to use purple later on, so I think it'll pull purple and blue in kind of interesting ways. Now I'm color switching my flat brush, and I'm going to dip into the shade Self. This one definitely has even more of a purple shift to it. I'm going to spray this and then place this on my very inner corner to meet up with that blue shimmer. So pretty. So up until I added that, this eye look reminded me a lot of the look that I did using BH Cosmetics Sapphire palette, because these deep blue-green colors and then this blue shimmer, at least in my light right now, which is 6 a.m., it's dark outside and I just have a ring light. In my lighting right now, that's what this shimmer really looks like, is the Sapphire palette. I know it has more shift and more dimension to it. I just can't see it right now. But then I added this purple in. So beautiful. Okay, in order to save the battery on my phone, because it's been being weird lately, I'm going to quickly do the other eye, clean up underneath my eyes, and then I'll be back to do the lower lash line. Moving on to the lower lash line, I'm taking a small pencil brush, and I'm dipping into the shade Mist, which is this beautiful mauve matte. I'm going to run this on my lower lash line, starting in the outer corner and going about till here. It's funny, my sister is still in town. We're having a wonderful time together. And yesterday I did her eyeshadow. And it looked awful. My sister's beautiful. But I managed to make her look extremely tired and kind of ghoulish. And it was strange because I picked colors that I thought would look good on her. But it was kind of a blend of her having very different skin undertones and also just applying makeup on somebody else was a lot more challenging than I'd realized. And because I chose to do colorful makeup instead of neutral makeup, all of my mistakes and all of my bad judgment calls as far as what shades to use and where to put them, it was all amplified. Also, I was on a time crunch because we needed to leave at a certain time and I didn't look at the clock before starting. So then it was like, oh my word, we need to leave in like 6 minutes. I had pretty much just started, so it was a rush job. And she's a good sport because she doesn't care. She was telling my daughter, we're riding in the car, my daughter's like, you look weird. And my sister says that she's like, you know, I don't really care what my face looks like because I live inside my face. I don't see myself. So it's really other people's problem if they don't like how I look. And my daughter goes, well, it's your problem if you look in a mirror. And my sister's like, I can go the rest of my life without looking in a mirror. It's just my face. And as far as makeup goes, you can wash it off. It was funny. I used this mist color on her and it just did not work the same. So undertones are very important. All right, now I'm taking a flat angled brush and I'm dipping into the shade, back into the shade Self, here. I'm gonna dip into the shade and then I'm gonna spray my brush. And I'm just gonna wrap this color around from my inner corner. So this is the color that we placed on the very inner corner. So I'm going to continue that down and wrap it in my lower lash line until I meet up with the mist purple that we just laid down. Oden's eye shimmers are very fairy-like. They have a very fairy-like, ethereal sort of lightness to them. Not all of them. I guess maybe it's a different formula. I don't know what it is, if it's because they're more duochrome or if it's because these glitter particles are so small. They do kind of get all over your face. But it's a very, very, very light glitter. It's not craft glitter. And so if it is on your face, it's not really a big deal. Such a pretty purple color. It's so pretty. As usual, I wish that I had a lavender eyeliner for my waterline, but I don't. So today I'm gonna grab white. My instinct, of course, was to go for Big Splash, because I always go for Big Splash, but I want white today. And I'm gonna place that on my whole lower waterline. Okay, that's pretty much the finished look. I'm going to hop off camera and put on some black eyeliner. I'm definitely gonna do a wing, and then I'll be back to show you the end result. Okay, and here is the finished look. I did what I planned, which was to put some black eyeliner on my top lash line, and I did a wing, a little bit of setting spray, mascara, and I am wearing a lip oil from ColourPop in the shade Smirk. So thank you very much for being with me today. It's funny, I really enjoy the Norn's palette from Oden's Eye. Oden's Eye, I feel like their shimmers in particular are so unique, and they're very light, they're very ethereal, very fairy-like. If I want a super metallic or heavier feeling shimmer, then I will grab BH Cosmetics. But if I want something that's lighter and not quite as in your face, but still carries a lot of pigment and a lot of depth and a lot of interest than I think Oden's Eye. I have a couple palettes from them besides Norn's. I have the Cat's Breath and Hummingbird palettes. I've done tutorials on those already, but I also have the Mini Forest and the Mini Ocean. So please let me know in the comments what you might like to see. I used the Mini Forest a couple days ago and it turned out really pretty. And I just really enjoyed making this look. It does very much remind me of the BH Cosmetics Sapphire palette. Everything except the purple, like these blue and green tones really remind me of that palette. So now I'm kind of considering whether I want to keep that one if I get basically the same look. I don't know, I'll think about it. That's a different video. But I had so much fun creating this. I just think it's a really pretty look. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you ever follow along and tag me on social media. You can find me at Shimmers and Silver. And until we see each other again, have a wonderful day. Bye.